The luxury space cruiser, Eternal Entitlement, dropped out of hyperspace with a flash of purple light. Its gleaming white hull reflected the distant sun as it approached Earth's main orbital station. Karen Zixnar stood on the command deck, her arms crossed and foot tapping impatiently against the polished floor. Her skin had the pale blue tint common to her species, with ridges along her forehead that pulsed with annoyance. "Why aren't we moving?" she demanded, glaring at her personal assistant. Plib, a small green alien with 4 arms and large eyes, checked the communication panel. "Station control says we must wait, High Admiral. A medical transport has priority." Karen's face darkened to a deeper blue. "Do they know who I am?" "I am High Admiral Karen Zixnar of the Galactic Council's Enforcement Fleet," I told them, but they said the medical transport is carrying critical organ replacements that will expire if delayed. "Plib," explained, his voice soft and apologetic. "Unacceptable," Karen hissed. "I have a spa appointment in 30 minutes. Connect me to whoever is in charge of this backwater docking facility." Moments later, the face of a human woman appeared on screen. Her name badge read, Allison, Green, NASA Communications Specialist. "This is Earth Orbital Station Alpha. How may I help you, High Admiral?" Allison asked, her professional smile not reaching her eyes. "You can help by clearing my path immediately. Do you have any idea how important my schedule is? I have meetings with 17 planetary representatives this week." Allison's expression remained calm. "I understand your frustration, High Admiral, but our protocols are clear. Medical emergencies take precedence over all other traffic, regardless of passenger status." Karen leaned closer to the screen. "Perhaps you don't understand who you're dealing with. I can have this station labeled non-compliant with galactic standard procedures with one call." A tall man in a military uniform stepped into view beside Allison. "Captain Russell Grant, Earth Defense Force. High Admiral, we respect your position, but we will not divert a medical transport carrying life-saving materials for 53 humans. Your docking clearance will be granted in approximately 17 minutes. The screen went dark before Karen could respond. She stood frozen in shock. "Did they just disconnect me?" she whispered. Plib nodded nervously. Karen's ridges flashed, bright blue with rage. "In my 300 years, I have never been treated with such disrespect. These humans think they can just join the galactic community and ignore proper hierarchies." She paced the deck, her long ceremonial robes swishing behind her. Earth has been nothing but trouble since first contact, always questioning procedures, challenging traditions, suggesting improvements to systems that worked perfectly fine for millennia. Watching her rage build, Plib tried to calm her. "The humans are young as a spacefaring species. They're still learning galactic etiquette." "No. They've had 50 years. That's more than enough time," Karen snapped. "They're not ignorant, they're deliberately disrespectful." She stopped pacing suddenly, her eyes widening with a new idea. "It's time someone taught them their place. Plib, prepare my personal shuttle. I'm returning to Council headquarters immediately. But your meetings will be rescheduled. This is more important." Karen smiled coldly. "I'm going to file a formal cancellation request against planet Earth." Plib gasped, his green skin paling. "High Admiral, that procedure hasn't been used in over 7 centuries. "Exactly. It's time to dust it off." 3 days later, in NASA headquarters in Houston, Allison Green was sorting through routine communication logs when an urgent message flashed on her screen. The Galactic Council seal pulsed red at the top of the document. She quickly called Captain Grant, who arrived minutes later. "This can't be right," Allison said as Grant read over her shoulder. "They're filing a what?" "A planetary cancellation request," Grant read aloud, his face serious. "Effective immediately. Earth is given notice that its status in the galactic community has been challenged. All off-world privileges may be revoked pending review." Allison scrolled through the extensive document. "The primary complainant is High Admiral Karen Zixnar." "Wait, isn't that the official we delayed for the organ transport last week?" Grant nodded grimly. "Looks like someone didn't appreciate waiting her turn." "But this is ridiculous. She's trying to get our entire planet kicked out of galactic society because of a 17-minute docking delay." The official complaints go. Beyond that, Grant pointed out, she's listing 27 instances of human exceptional behavior contrary to galactic harmony. Most of these are just cases where we suggested process improvements or questioned inefficient regulations. Allison stood up abruptly. I need to call the president. This is going to require a diplomatic response team. Within hours, an emergency meeting convened in the White House. The president's face was grave as intelligence officers, diplomats, and military leaders gathered around the conference table. So this alien is essentially asking to speak to Earth's manager? The president asked after the briefing. That's an accurate summary, Madam President, replied Allison. But this is more serious than a customer complaint. If the council sides with her, Earth could lose all trading rights, technology sharing agreements, and protection treaties. Former International Court Judge Samantha Wells, recently appointed as Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, spoke up. The cancellation request procedure is ancient and rarely invoked, but it is still valid under Council law. We have exactly 1 Galactic Standard Week, 12 Earth days, to prepare our defense. What do we know about this Karen Zixnar? The president asked. A young man with thick glasses and a rumpled suit opened his laptop. Frank Rodriguez, Cybersecurity Specialist. High Admiral Zixnar has filed similar complaints against 17 other worlds in her 300-year career. 11 resulted in severe sanctions. She has a reputation for holding grudges and using her position to punish those who don't show her what she considers proper respect. Captain Grant leaned forward. We need to understand what we're really dealing with. Is this just one entitled official abusing her power, or does she represent broader dissatisfaction with humans in the council? Judge Wells nodded thoughtfully. Good question. My contacts suggest many species find humans refreshing even if we're sometimes annoying. We innovate quickly and question outdated practices. Some traditionalists see that as threatening. So we're being taken to space court. Because we didn't just fall in line? Allison asked. Essentially, confirmed Wells. But Karen has picked the wrong planet to bully. We specialize in standing up to bullies. The president stood, determination in her eyes. Judge Wells, I'm appointing you to lead our defense team. Captain Grant and Ms. Green, you witnessed the initial incident, so you'll join the delegation. Mr. Rodriguez, we'll need your investigative skills. This Karen may have political connections, but everyone has secrets. As the meeting dispersed, Allison caught up with Captain Grant in the hallway. Do you think we actually have a chance? This alien has been winning these cases for centuries. Grant smiled slightly. You know what Earth has that those other planets didn't? What? The one thing Karen can't stand. We ask questions, and we don't stop asking until we get real answers. He checked his watch. 11 days, 17 hours until the hearing. Let's get to work. Across the galaxy, Karen Zixnar was already preparing her case, unaware that she had just started a chain of events that would change her life forever. The conference room in the Pentagon buzzed with activity as Earth's defense team worked around the clock. Digital screens covered the walls, displaying information about the Galactic Council, previous cancellation cases, and everything they could find about Karen Zixnar. Judge Samantha Wells stood at the center of it all, her silver hair pulled back in a tight bun, reviewing documents on her tablet. 10 days until the hearing, she announced to the room. Progress reports, please. Allison Green stepped forward. First, we've analyzed all 17 previous cancellation requests filed by Karen. There's a pattern. She targets younger spacefaring species who have resources she later gains access to. Captain Grant nodded. Military intelligence confirms this. After sanctions were placed on 11 planets, companies with connections to Karen moved in within months. Those planets lost their right to negotiate fair trade deals. Frank Rodriguez spun his laptop around. I've been following the money. Look at this web of shell companies across different star systems. Karen doesn't directly own them, but her family members do. Very convenient. Judge Wells frowned. That's highly unethical, but we need concrete proof of corruption, not just suspicious timing. I might have something, Frank said, adjusting his glasses. Karen's official schedule shows she visited mining company executives on 6 occasions right before filing complaints against mineral-rich planets. What resources does Earth have that she might want? Allison asked. Captain Grant pulled up a tier holographic map of the solar system. We're rich in water, rare elements, and cultural goods. Our music and art fetch high prices in galactic markets. And our location is strategic, added a military analyst. Earth sits near 3 major hyperspace lanes. Controlling access to our system would be valuable. Judge Wells paced the room. We need to prepare both a defense against her specific complaints and an investigation into her motives. Captain, your team will gather evidence on her past cases. Frank, keep following the money trail. Allison, help me prepare our response to each of her 27 complaints. As they worked, news from across the galaxy arrived. A junior aide rushed in with a tablet. You need to see this. Karen is doing interviews on galactic media networks. They gathered around to watch. Karen Zixnar sat in a plush studio, her blue skin glowing under the lights as she spoke to a tentacled reporter. Earth has been a problem since they joined the community, Karen said smoothly. They constantly question our ancient and proven ways. They show no proper respect for hierarchy, or tradition. But some say humans bring fresh perspectives, the reporter suggested. Karen laughed coldly. Fresh? Is that what we're calling chaos now? Just last week they made me wait. Me, a high admiral, while they serviced a common medical transport. Some species simply aren't evolved enough for civilized interaction. The reporter leaned forward. What do you hope to achieve with this cancellation request? To protect galactic harmony, Karen replied with a practiced smile. Humans must learn their place or return to their planet until they mature properly. Judge Wells muted the broadcast. She's building public opinion against us before the hearing even starts. Can she do that? Allison asked. Unfortunately, yes. There are no rules against it. Wells sighed. But this gives me an idea. Captain, contact our diplomatic corps immediately. If Karen is going to speak to the media, so will we. Within hours, Earth's story spread across galactic networks. Videos showed human medical teams saving alien lives. Earth scientists collaborating with other species on breakthrough technologies and cultural exchanges that had enriched galactic society. Personal testimonies from aliens who had positive experiences with humans provided a counterpoint to Karen's narrative. Meanwhile, Frank worked through the night, tracing connections between Karen's past actions and financial gains. At dawn, he burst into the conference room where Judge Wells was preparing notes. I found something huge, he said, his eyes red from lack of sleep. After the planet Vega 9 was sanctioned, a mining company called Blue Ridge Extractions gained exclusive rights to their moon's ore deposits. Guess who received 50 million galactic credits in consulting fees from Blue Ridge 2 months later? Wells looked up sharply. Karen? Not directly. A cultural foundation run by her sister. And there's more. I've identified similar patterns with at least 7 other sanctioned planets. Wells took the data chip Frank offered. This is excellent work, but we need to be careful. Karen has powerful friends on the council. We can't just accuse her without ironclad evidence. What about her assistant? Allison suggested, entering the room with coffee. The green alien who was with her on the ship. He seemed uncomfortable with her behavior. Plib, Captain Grant said, checking his notes. He's been with her for 20 years. If anyone knows her secrets, it would be him. Can we contact him discreetly? Wells asked. Frank grinned. Already working on it. I found his personal communication channel and sent a message offering to talk. Risky, Grant commented. He could tell Karen. True, Frank admitted. But my gut says he's not happy working for her. The way he flinched when she raised her voice in that media interview. Meanwhile, across the galaxy on the council headquarters station, Karen was enjoying renewed attention. Gifts arrived from allies and corporations hoping to curry favor. Reporters requested exclusive interviews. She had just finished a luxurious meal when Plib entered her suite. The Earth delegation has arrived at the station, he reported nervously. They've requested preliminary meeting rooms and research access. Karen waved dismissively. Let them scramble, it won't help them. They've brought extensive documentation, Plib continued, and they've requested access to records of your previous cases. For the first time, Karen looked slightly concerned. That's standard procedure. They're allowed to review public records. Yes, but they've specifically asked about your connections to Blue Ridge Extractions and 6 other companies that benefited from planetary sanctions. Karen froze. Who authorized that line of inquiry? Judge Samantha Wells. She cited Galactic Code Section 47B, which allows investigation into potential conflicts of interest. Karen's ridges pulsed with alarm. Deny the request. Cite security. Protocols. I can't, Plib said quietly. The request has already been granted by Council Overseer Zhen. The humans were very persuasive about transparency being essential to fair proceedings. Karen stood suddenly, knocking over her wine glass. Find out exactly what they know and contact my sister immediately. Tell her to move the Foundation funds to the secondary accounts. As Plib turned to leave, his personal communicator vibrated. In his pocket. The message from Frank Rodriguez had just arrived. He hesitated, then slipped into an empty corridor to read it. The message was simple. We know you're caught in the middle. If you ever wanted to break free, now's your chance. Earth stands with those who stand for truth. Plib stared at the words for a long time, thinking about 20 years of watching Karen destroy worlds for profit. Then he made his decision and began typing a reply that would change everything. The Galactic Council chamber took Allison's breath away. The room was enormous, with a domed ceiling that displayed a real-time map of the galaxy. Thousands of stars twinkled above, with inhabited planets glowing brighter than the rest. 300 alien representatives from different worlds sat in rising tiers around a central speaking platform. Some looked almost human, while others were completely different, floating gas clouds, crystalline structures, and beings of pure energy. Judge Wells led the Earth delegation to their assigned seats. Captain Grant walked beside her, his military uniform crisp and formal. Frank Rodriguez followed, carrying a secure data tablet. Allison brought up the rear, trying not to stare at the strange aliens around them. Remember, Wells whispered, stay calm no matter what happens. Many species here interpret human emotions differently than we do. On the opposite side of the chamber, Karen Zixnar made her entrance. She wore elaborate ceremonial robes with glittering medals across her chest. 6 legal advisors from different species followed her, each carrying stacks of documents. Karen's blue skin seemed to glow under the chamber lights as she nodded to various council members who greeted her. She has a lot of friends here, Grant observed quietly. Allies built over 300 years, Wells replied. We have 12 days of preparation. This won't be easy. A tone sounded through the chamber. A tall, thin alien with gray skin and 7 eyes floated to the center platform. I am Overseer Zhen, the alien announced in a musical voice that somehow reached every corner of the vast room. This hearing will now commence. High Admiral Karen Zixnar has filed a planetary cancellation request against Earth. Both parties will present their cases, after which the Council will deliberate. Jen gestured to Karen. As the complainant, High Admiral Zixnar will speak first. Karen glided to the platform, her face serious and dignified. Honored Council members, she began, her voice carrying easily. For 8,000 years, our galactic community has maintained peace and order through respect for tradition and proper hierarchy. When new species join us, they understand they must adapt to our ways. She touched a control, and images appeared in the air above her. Earth ships breaking formation in space traffic, humans asking questions during sacred ceremonies, Earth scientists suggesting improvements to ancient technologies. Humans refuse to accept their place as newcomers, Karen continued. They question everything. They disrupt established procedures. They show no proper respect for those of higher rank. She described the docking incident, making it sound as if Earth had deliberately endangered her life by delaying her ship. Then, she listed 27 other complaints, each making humans seem more chaotic and dangerous. But most concerning is their military growth, Karen said, her voice dropping to a worried tone. In just 50 years, Earth has developed technology that took other species centuries. Their ships grow more powerful each year. A new image appeared, a simulation showing hundreds of Earth warships spreading across the galaxy. This is what we face if Earth remains unchecked, Karen concluded. I ask the Council to place Earth under probation until humans learn proper respect for galactic ways. All their off-world rights should be suspended for at least 100 years. As Karen returned to her seat, murmurs spread through the chamber. Many council members looked troubled. Judge Wells walked calmly to the platform. She wore a simple black robe with only a small earth pin as decoration. Honored Council, she began, her voice steady. High Admiral Zixnar has shared her perspective on humanity. Now I would like to share ours. New images appeared. Human. Doctors treating alien children. Earth scientists working side by side with alien researchers. Human artists learning from alien masters. Yes, we ask questions, Wells continued. Our curiosity drives us to understand, not to disrespect. Yes, we suggest improvements, not because we think ancient ways are wrong, but because we believe growth comes from sharing ideas. She addressed each of Karen's complaints with specific facts. The docking delay had been for a medical emergency that saved 53 lives. The ceremony interruption had been to prevent an allergic reaction that might have killed an alien diplomat. Each apparent disruption had a logical explanation. As for our military, Wells said, Earth developed defenses quickly because we had to. Before joining the Council, we faced 3 invasion attempts from non-Council species. We build ships not to conquer, but to protect, both ourselves and now our galactic neighbors. Wells displayed a different simulation, Earth ships responding to distress calls from various planets, providing aid during natural disasters and fighting alongside Council forces against pirate attacks. Humanity doesn't seek to disrupt galactic harmony, she concluded. We wish to contribute to it, sometimes in new ways that might seem uncomfortable at first. Different perspectives make us all stronger. The chamber was silent when she finished. Even Karen looked slightly unnerved by the calm, reasonable defense. Overseer Jen floated forward. Questions will now be accepted from council members. A large insectoid alien rose. For High Admiral Zixnar, if humans are so disruptive, why have 17 worlds signed trade agreements with Earth in the past year alone? Karen's ridges pulsed. Those worlds are being short-sighted. They see immediate benefits without considering long-term cultural damage. A gaseous being glowed brightly. For Earth, how do you respond to concerns that your rapid advancement threatens other species? Wells answered carefully. We understand this fear. History on our own world has shown that rapid change can be frightening. We propose creating a joint committee where humans can share our innovations at a pace comfortable for all. The questions continued for hours. Karen became visibly frustrated as more council members seemed receptive to Earth's answers. Finally, she interrupted. Enough of these minor issues, she snapped. The fundamental problem remains. Humans refuse to know their place. They challenged my authority directly. No one of proper breeding would dare treat a high admiral with such disrespect. The chamber went silent at her outburst. Karen realized her mistake immediately and tried to recover. The incident represents a larger pattern of disregard for proper order. Captain Grant suddenly stood. Overseer Zhen, may I address the council? This was unusual. Only designated speakers typically addressed the full council. Zhen considered briefly, then nodded. Grant walked to the platform, his posture straight but not stiff. Unlike the formal speeches before, he spoke conversationally. I've spent my life in military service, he began. In my experience, the strongest teams aren't the ones where everyone thinks alike. They're the ones where different perspectives come together. He looked around the chamber, making eye contact with various aliens. If unpredictability is dangerous, isn't diversity of thought the foundation upon which this council was built? I've studied your history. This body formed because different species realized they could achieve more together than alone, even when they disagreed on many things. Grant gestured toward Karen. High Admiral Zixnar fears our questions and suggestions. But I ask you, isn't questioning how we learn, isn't suggesting how we grow, and isn't respecting differences rather than fearing them The true mark of an advanced civilization? When he finished, the chamber erupted in discussion. Many council members were nodding. Even Overseer Jen seemed thoughtful. As Grant returned to his seat, Frank's tablet discreetly vibrated. He checked it and quickly passed it to Wells. A message from Plib had arrived. "I have the evidence you need. Meet me at Docking Bay 12. Come alone." Wells glanced across the chamber, where Karen was angrily whispering to her legal team. This could be their chance to uncover the truth, or it could be a trap. Judge Wells slipped away from the Earth delegation during a short recess. She walked briskly through the curved hallways of the council station, trying to look like she was on official business. 2 security officers nodded at her credentials as she entered the Docking Bay area. Docking Bay 12 was small and used mostly for personal shuttles. It was empty except for a single small craft and a nervous-looking green alien pacing near the entrance. Plib jumped when he saw her. "Judge Wells," he whispered, looking around to make sure they were alone. "Thank you for coming. You said you have evidence?" Wells kept her distance, still uncertain if this was a trap. Plib pulled out a data crystal. 20 years of records, financial transactions, private communications, blackmail material, everything Karen didn't want anyone to see. His hands shook. "I've been collecting it since I realized what she was doing." "Why help us now?" Wells asked. "You've been with her for decades." Plib's large eyes blinked rapidly. "Because Earth is different. The other planets she targeted were smaller, less able to defend themselves. But you humans, you fight back. This might be the only chance to stop her." Wells studied him carefully. "This could end your career." "I know," Plib said quietly. "But I can't watch her destroy another world for profit." Wells took the crystal. "If this information is legitimate, the Council will protect you." "There's more," Plib continued. "Karen is panicking. She's contacted her sister to hide the money, and she's called in favors from Council members who owe her. 6 have promised to vote against Earth regardless of the evidence." "That's corruption," Wells said sharply. "That's Karen," Plib replied with a bitter smile. "She's never lost a case because she doesn't play fair." A noise from the corridor made Plib jump. "I have to go. She'll notice I'm missing." He paused at the doorway. "Be careful, Judge. Karen is more dangerous when she's desperate." Wells returned to the Earth delegation room where Allison, Grant, and Frank were waiting. "Did he show?" Frank asked eagerly. Wells held up the crystal. "Yes, and he brought gifts." "Frank, can you verify this?" Frank took the crystal and plugged it into his secure tablet. His eyes widened as he scrolled through the files. "This is incredible. Bank records, meeting transcripts, blackmail evidence against council members. Plib has been documenting everything." "Is it real?" Grant asked. Frank nodded. "The encryption, signatures look authentic. This would have been nearly impossible to fake." He continued scanning. "Look at this. After the planet Rigel 4 was sanctioned, Karen's sister received 3 luxury properties from a mining company that got exclusive rights there." Allison peered over his shoulder. "And here are messages between Karen and the CEO of Blue Ridge Extractions, planning how to divide up Earth's resources if we get sanctioned." "We need to show this to the Council immediately," Wells said. Grant frowned. "Karen won't go down without a fight. According to Plib, she's already secured votes from 6 council members. Then we need to convince the others before she can pressure more of them," Wells decided. "Frank, prepare a summary of the most damning evidence. Allison, draft an emergency petition to Overseer Jen requesting an immediate evidence review. They worked. The central communication system announced that the hearing would resume in 30 minutes. The team rushed to prepare their case. Back in the council chamber, Karen looked confident as she took her seat. She had spent the recess reminding key council members of past favors and future rewards. Several nodded to her respectfully as she passed. When Overseer Jen reopened the session, Wells immediately raised her hand. "Overseer, Earth requests an emergency evidence review under Code 87C, which allows new material evidence to be presented in extraordinary circumstances." Karen stood up angrily. This is a delay tactic. Earth had ample time to prepare their case. Jen's 7 eyes blinked in sequence. What is the nature of this new evidence, Judge Wells? Evidence of corruption and abuse of power directly relevant to this case, Wells replied calmly, including financial records showing High Admiral Zixnar has personally profited from previous planetary sanctions. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. Karen's blue skin darkened with rage. This is slander. I demand these humans be censured for making false accusations. Jen raised a hand for silence. Serious allegations require serious consideration. The evidence will be reviewed by a neutral panel before presented to the full council. Karen sputtered in protest, but council rules were clear. A panel of 3 senior members was quickly selected, and they withdrew with Wells and one of Karen's legal advisors to examine the evidence. While they waited, the atmosphere in the chamber grew tense. Karen paced nervously, occasionally whispering urgently to her remaining advisors. The Earth delegation sat quietly, though Frank continued working on his tablet, organizing additional files from Plib's crystal. After nearly 2 hours, the panel returned. The senior member, a crystalline being who refracted light in beautiful patterns, addressed the chamber. We have reviewed the evidence and find it meets the standard for full council consideration. The files appear authentic and contain information directly relevant to these proceedings. Karen jumped up. Those files were stolen. My personal assistant is a thief and a traitor. So you confirm they are your actual files? Jen asked pointedly. Karen realized her mistake and fell silent. Wells returned to the central platform. The evidence was displayed for all to see. Financial records showing Karen's hidden profits, communications revealing her plans to exploit sanctioned planets, and lists of council members she had bribed or blackmailed over the centuries. High Admiral Zixnar has systematically abused her position to enrich herself and her family, Wells explained. She targets planets with valuable resources, manufactures complaints against them, and then profits when they're sanctioned and unable to negotiate fair trade deals. The evidence was overwhelming. Records showed that after 11 planets were sanctioned due to Karen's complaints, companies connected to her gained exclusive access to their resources at fraction of market rates. Her personal wealth had increased by billions of galactic credits through hidden accounts. Most damning was a recent message to her sister. Earth will be the biggest prize yet. Once they're sanctioned, we can move in and take whatever we want. Their water reserves alone will make us the richest family in the quadrant. As the evidence mounted, other species began to come forward. Representatives from previously sanctioned planets shared similar experiences. 3 council members admitted Karen had pressured them to vote her way by threatening to reveal personal secrets. Karen watched in horror as her carefully built network of influence collapsed around her. She tried to leave the chamber, claiming illness, but security officers politely blocked her path. "This is a misunderstanding," she insisted, her voice shrill. "I've served the council faithfully for centuries." "And profited handsomely from that service," Jen observed coldly. The final testimony came from an unexpected source. Plib entered the chamber, his small green form shaking with nervousness, but his voice steady as he confirmed the evidence was real and described 20 years of witnessing Karen's schemes. "I collected these records because I believed someday someone would be strong enough to stand against her," he said, looking at the Earth delegation. "I waited a long time." As Plib finished speaking, the council chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to Overseer Jen, waiting for a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Overseer Jen floated silently at the center of the Galactic Council chamber. The 7 eyes on the alien's gray face blinked in sequence as Jen considered all the evidence presented. 300 council members waited quietly for the decision. Karen Zixnar stood alone, her legal team having distanced themselves after the evidence was revealed. "In 8,000 years of Galactic Council history," Jen began, voice echoing through the vast chamber, "we have faced many challenges. Today we face a betrayal from within." Jen turned slowly, addressing all parts of the circular chamber. "High Admiral Karen Zixnar has violated the sacred trust of her office. The evidence is clear. She has used her position to enrich herself at the expense of developing worlds. She has blackmailed council members. She has corrupted our most ancient procedures for personal gain. Karen stepped forward. I demand a full investigation before any judgment. These are complex financial matters easily misunderstood. Silence, Jen said softly, but the word carried power that made Karen step back. You have spoken enough throughout the centuries. Now you will listen. Jen raised all four arms. By unanimous decision of the senior council, all charges against Earth are dismissed. Further, High Admiral Zixnar is immediately removed from her position and placed under investigation for corruption, abuse of power, and violation of council ethics. Her assets are frozen pending a full audit. The chamber erupted in sound as hundreds of species reacted to the historic decision. Some cheered, others buzzed or flashed colors to show approval. Karen stood in shock, her blue skin pale with disbelief. This cannot be happening, she whispered. Two security officers approached her. Do you know who I am? She demanded, drawing herself up to her full height. Former High Admiral Karen Zixnar, one officer replied calmly. Please come with us. As Karen was escorted from the chamber, Judge Wells and the Earth delegation received congratulations from many council representatives. Species that had suffered under Karen's schemes were especially grateful. Overseer Jen approached them. Earth has done the council a great service by exposing this corruption. As a token of our appreciation, we invite humanity to join the council's Internal Affairs Committee. Your perspective would be valuable in preventing such abuses in the future. Wells bowed respectfully. Earth would be honored, Overseer. Plib stood nearby, looking uncertain until Captain Grant waved him over. What happens to me now? The small green alien asked nervously. The council offers you amnesty and protection, Jen assured him. Your courage in collecting evidence at great personal risk has not gone unnoticed. Plib smiled weakly. After 20 years of fear, I'm not sure what to do with freedom. You could advise the Internal Affairs Committee, Allison suggested. No one knows how Karen's schemes worked better than you. 3 days later, the Earth delegation prepared to return home. The station's main concourse was crowded with aliens wishing them well. News of Karen's corruption and Earth's role in exposing it had spread throughout the galaxy. In a quiet moment before departure, the team gathered in their ship's conference room. A message from the president waited for them. Congratulations on your historic success, the president's hologram said. Not only have you defended Earth, but you've also elevated our standing in the galactic community. The Council's invitation to the Internal Affairs Committee is unprecedented for such a young member species. You've turned a potential disaster into a triumph for humanity. After the message ended, Frank raised a glass of champagne. To justice across the stars. To asking questions, Captain Grant added with a smile. To Earth, Judge Wells finished, and our place in the galaxy. As their ship departed the station, they passed a small secure facility where Karen was being held pending her trial. Through a window, they could see her sitting alone in a comfortable but plain room, her once elaborate robes replaced with a simple gray outfit. Her expression was bitter as she watched Earth's ship pass by. 6 months later, Allison Green stood on the observation deck of Earth's orbital station. The platform that had once seemed so impressive now felt small compared to the Galactic Council station. She watched shuttles and ships from dozens of worlds come and go, their alien designs adding color and variety to Earth's sky. Captain Grant joined her at the window. Quite a change from last year, he observed. Trade is up 300%. 17 new embassies have opened, and the technology exchanges have advanced our science by decades. Allison nodded, all because Karen couldn't wait 17 minutes for a medical transport. Funny how it works out, Grant said. Her attempt to cancel Earth ended up making us more connected to the galaxy than ever. A notification chimed on Allison's tablet. The verdict is in, she announced. Karen has been sentenced to 50 years of community service. She'll be helping developing worlds establish fair trade practices under strict supervision. Grant laughed. Perfect justice. She'll have to help. The very kinds of planets she once exploited. And what about her assets? Allison asked. All 11 billion credits will be distributed among the planets she harmed, Grant replied. Judge Wells made sure of that. On a view screen nearby, they could see news footage of the latest council meeting. Judge Wells sat at the main table in her new role as head of the reformed Internal Affairs Committee. Beside her, Plib was explaining new transparency regulations to prevent future corruption. Both wore the simple blue uniforms that had replaced the elaborate ceremonial robes Karen had favored. "Did you hear about the Karen Act?" Grant asked. Allison shook her head. "The council passed it yesterday. It requires all officials to wait there, turn in line just like everyone else. No more special treatment based on rank." They both laughed as they watched ships from across the galaxy arriving at Earth, bringing visitors, traders, and diplomats eager to work with the humans who had stood up to corruption and won. In her office at Council headquarters, Judge Wells finished reviewing applications from 17 worlds, seeking Earth's help establishing fair governance systems. A small plant from Earth sat on her desk, a gift from the president to remind her of home. A message arrived from Overseer Zhen. "The reforms you suggested have been approved unanimously. The Council has not seen such positive change in 2,000 years." Wells smiled as she looked out at the galaxy map on her wall. Earth glowed brightly among thousands of stars, no longer just a newcomer but an essential part of the galactic community, all because one entitled alien had picked the wrong planet to bully. Sometimes, Wells reflected, the best way to find your place in the universe is to stand firmly for what's right, even when, especially when, someone tries to cancel you.